Well, here I am back again. Change of top, different day, same old shit. This time we're going to change the string trees. We're going to put the copper tape on to reduce the howls and squeals and hums and things. And maybe we'll look at another couple of things, so let's get down to it. Okay, so what I've got at the moment is a couple of string trees that are sort of chrome, or whatever they want to call it. And what I want to fit is a couple of very nice, snazzy Fender ones that are gold. So it's a simple matter on this, just screw them off and screw the new ones on. Well, what's good about this is when you take these off, on this type of string tree at least, you can see that you've got the main hole for the screw. Then you've got another little locating hole at the back. So actually it's quite difficult to put this one the wrong way round. You can, of course, but don't add up. So these are going to be easy peasy, as they say. That's that one off, and there'll be the new one on. Put the screw in, away you go. Okay, now there you can see them, two nice shiny gold ones. And some of you might be asking why I fitted these sort of dull type of tuners up here. Well, they're locking tuners, and I didn't want to spend $150 on locking tuners, which is what they cost typically, for gold ones, when I can get these for $45 or thereabouts. It just seems no point. Plus the fact that it makes this guitar a little bit different than all the others. Most of the others have got them, most of them haven't got this, but nice mix. The gold goes nice, and these still work nice with the way that this one's going to be set up. It's a little bit different. That's the thing. That's what I want. A guitar that is different and sounds better. Well, what we got now is this sort of tape that you can put on there. It's copper tape. It can conduct electricity with the sort of sticky bits. And what we do is put it all round here and round these edges, and just edge it up over the top just a little bit, all the way around this cavity, all the way around these, down in there, and everything's going to be good. So I'll start that off, and then we'll take a look at the video. And there's the first piece in place. You just really want to get this right all the way around the edges with your thumb, like this. Really push it down into the wood, make sure it's stuck down right. Then carry on all the way through there. Next one down the bottom, one in there, and then build these edges up. And make sure you just overlap a little bit all the way around. We'll be back in a moment. Now you can see we've done 3 sections. None of it's rocket science, you just make sure it's really well stuck down. That's really the most important bit, around these edges in particular. Get it like this with your fingers and sort of push until you can't push anymore. When you get to somewhere like this, what I had to do is just trim it a little bit, just a bit of a cut there, a bit of a cut the other side, push it down over the wall, and it'll stick nice. Well, one of the things is, when you're looking at this stuff, it's really very thin, so it's not really going to be a problem. You can tell it's real copper. Look at the colour of my hands. So straight from the copper, straight onto your hands, both sides. Nice. Well, at least it shows it's the real deal rather than some imitation stuff that you can buy cheap. And this is really going to do the job. Now you can see I've covered the main sections. There's a couple of other little bits to do, and then there's round the sides of the pockets. We've got these 2 bits to do here, and then round the sides of these pockets. It's very important that you do all that and get it all ship-shape, and then you're going to have less hum and noise than all your buddies, which is usually the case anyway. Now, as you can see, it's progressed a bit further. One thing you want to make sure of is when you're down in these areas, there's little holes for the wires. You've got to get the wire through from here into the other bit. So I always like to just poke that hole free afterwards. There's also one this side, somewhere down here, just poke it free, so you can get your screwdriver right through. Well, at least that's the theory. That's it. There's also one down here that goes right back into the body, rounding. There it is. There it goes. So make sure you've got the screw holes nice and clear, and there's just a bit of finishing off at the top. You just want it just over the top a tiny little bit, all the way around, and that's the screening complete. So let's finish off. So there you have it in all its glory. As you can see, it's pretty well isolated. It just overhangs the body just a tiny little bit all the way around. So that when we fit the scratch plate's also going to have some of this stuff on, and it'll actually isolate this whole section and down here into like a metal box, which is, many of you guys will know, is a Faraday cage. Now, a Faraday cage doesn't allow anything to get in, and it doesn't allow anything to get out. So this will limit the sort of hum and squeals, not the guitar squeals, that is, just the stuff you don't want from really penetrating your sound. So that's one of the reasons why I spent so long on doing this. I know it works, I've been here before. So that's what you should end up with, or at least something very similar to that. And all the little offcuts, you don't throw them away. What you do with them is patch all the little holes with it, because don't forget that the stuff that sticks this on conducts electricity, so it'll conduct straight through itself, no problem. Great, it's exactly what we need. Let's take a look at the scratch plate. This is a scratch plate I had made at Warmouth for this guitar, and I spent a bit of time choosing the particular colour. You may or may not like it, doesn't matter. What does matter is that as this plate comes, yeah, they've got all this rubbish about removing film and stuff like that. Don't worry about that. What does matter though is this. And when you look at this pickguard particularly, you see there's no screening anywhere around here. In fact, on the old Strats they used to put a plate over the lot. So I'm not too happy with that as it is. That's fine, but I'd like a little bit around this thing, so just around these. So what I'm going to do is one across there, and a bit around these, around the edges, just so that we can isolate that cavity on the body that you saw earlier. This is where they run, across here, round here, round here, round here, and down into that. Well, that's isolated enough, that's not a problem. It's actually a bit thicker than the stuff I normally use, but there you go, it's on there, I'm not going to peel it off. So what I'm going to do now is tape this up, and then we'll have another look in a minute. Well, the first thing I'll do is actually put a piece of tape over the hole. You can see you need it around the edge, just as in the body. You can cut that back a bit if you want to. And then just take a knife like this and just cut the centre out and just poke the holes out. Do the next one, do the third one, a couple of strips that way, and you're in business. So I'll finish off. And here's the finished job. You can see that the material's really well stuck on. It's joined across here. Remember, you can just stick this on and it'll still conduct. Round here, cut the centres out, cut the holes out, touch this onto here, and really at that you're in business. That's ready to go. Okay, like I said before, this guitar had a different body on it, and you know, it's an awesome guitar, great sound, but the body was a bit heavy for me, so hence why I bought this new bone, much lighter body. In fact, it's about, I think, £3, 2 ounces or something, so it's great. But these pickups that you see here, these three, are called David White pickups. I think I've mentioned them earlier in the video, but David White pickups, in either case, were made by, have a guess, yeah, David White. I bought these in 1994, because I wrote on them, 94, when I bought them, and I wrote David White on them because they all look like everybody else's pickups at first. But what actually separates these out, first of all, is he developed a way to wind these so that they sounded actually better than most of the others. In fact, I think they're better than all of the others. But what gives them away, that they're David White's, is this colouring on this this wire. I've never seen anybody else use that on pickups, that exact colouring. So if you've got pickups that look like that and they're in a Strat, those are David White pickups, and you want to hang on them for life, really, because David died. Simple as that. He left a great legacy, but he didn't leave much of it. And what bit there is, they do come up on eBay and places like that from time to time. But if you see them, you grab them. Don't worry what it costs. Trust me, these pickups are exactly what you need. Only one more thing to talk about with these pickups. This third pickup, this bridge pickup, in fact, was off a 62 Strat. I sent that to David because it had got a short inside. And actually, if you look at it, it looks identical to the other pickups. In fact, when he sent it back to me, reconditioned and rebuilt, I had to call him up and ask him why he'd sent me a new pickup. Where's my 62 pickup? That's how good he was. So if ever you see any, these are the ones you want. The rest of the wiring's in pretty much average condition. I just snip the wires when I put it off the other guitar. So what I'm going to do is take all this off and put it on the scratch plate that we just saw. So I'll just do that now. It's pretty boring. You undo the screws, take the bolts out and screw them into the other one, and Bob's your uncle. So let's do that, and then I'll show you the finished product as we go. Well, there it is, ready to lift the old scratch plate off the old guitar. I'm changing the scratch plate. It doesn't really go with the other guitar, the new body, very well. Plus I drill these holes for other things. So once you've undone it all, you just lift it off, take your screws out, and you're ready to rock and roll with the other one. So I'll do a little bit more here, start putting them back into the new board, and then we'll catch up again in a minute. One last thing before we actually start and fit the new plate is little washers on here. You really want to make sure they're on and underneath so that they bite into that copper that we've got over there on the scratch plate. So make sure they're on. The wiring on this particular one's just absolutely totally bog standard Fender Stratocaster. Good enough for Leo, it's good enough for me. It's probably good enough for you too, providing you got the right pickups. And if you got the wrong ones, or some of them other pickups that are out there, well, best of luck. That's what's on this one. That's what's going to go in the scratch plate. So I'll fit it together and we'll see. So there's the finished scratch plate. It's got all the components on it that were on there before. Oh, I didn't fit the knob on the end. I'm sure I'll find a knob somewhere to put on the end of there. Maybe you're free, who knows. So let's just have a look at the other side. There you go. All very nice, all thrown back together, just as it came off the other guitar. You can see every area, every single place has this isolation. And that's part of the little trick. To really make these things quieter than what they were back in 1950 when they came out. I think Leo really got nearly everything right, but of course in those days they didn't have the sort of interference that they have today. You know, it's very different in the world of RF and, you know, anything that's being transmitted these days. It just bumps straight into the cable, lots of different frequencies. So I'm sure that some of them cables are resonant with the frequencies that are being transmitted, and they go into your guitar amp. So that's one way of solving that problem. And if you take a look at this, it's just an awesome piece of kit. You know, Leo got it exactly right. I mean, look at this thing. I like the gold. I like everything about it. It's awesome. Nice sort of age sort of covers and stuff like that. Anyway, enough about this. We'll move on. One last thing here. If you don't know about Stratocaster wiring, go and check it out on the internet. Seymour Duncan's got pictures of it and all sorts of people. It's all over the net. But what I do is this one here will come off and go into the body cavity, screwed in with a screw, because it will be screwed in onto the copper foil. And this one here goes through the other little hole into the back so that the tremolo's grounded. And these two basically go off down to the output jack. It's that simple. That's it. That's all the connections you need on the guitar. By the way, one thing I did use was the this Fender Aged White Access Kit. Very nice, looks good. Nice parchmenty, sort of yellowy, sort of, I don't know, cream. Very nice. Very expensive for what it is. You can buy the cheaper stuff, but I think the Fender stuff's the best, so I'd use that if it was me. Okay, one last thing. You'll notice I've tightened the wiring up down here with a bit of masking tape, which is a bit like what was on the original stuff. And I've moved the grounding from here with the wires dangling over the edge because they happen to hit down in the bottom of the body. So I've moved them around there and they can come this way, which is much nicer. You don't get the same problems then. Okay, ready to move on. Just one more thing about this little section here. If you're going to use the copper foil, what you've got to be careful of is that none of this stuff actually touches the grounding. If it touches the grounding, don't work. Sometimes you can put a little bit of tape over it or something, and you know, just that insulating tape, just a little bit, just across it. Or you could even put the insulating tape in the bottom of the crevice, so to speak, or the cutout, or the routing, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. Put a bit of insulating tape in there. Won't affect anything, but it'll stop it just shorting out. That's another good little tip. So here in fact is the first real shot of the scratch plate and its bits fitted on there. It's not screwed to the body yet because I haven't drilled the holes, but it's not far off. All the wiring fits nice and neat. Obviously I haven't wired everything in yet, but it's near as done. One thing you want to know when you're fitting the scratch plate to the body, particularly with these type of pickups, you know, the like this one is, what you'll notice is that when you try and fit the scratch plate and this neck screwed on, to get underneath this lip, this pickup here hits the body. What I always do is first of all screw these right up this way. First thing. Second thing, slacken the neck off so that the neck can just tilt up a little bit like that. Just be careful what you do. And then this plate will just slide straight into place. Very, very easy. Great result. And as you can see, it's perfect. It's nigh on perfect. Looks great. And there's another shot of the guitar with the scratch plate fitted. I've got the wires through now. Same on the back of the guitar. If you look, you'll see the wires through. You can't see that. It's through there at the back. Ready to rock and roll. So all we've got to do now is a little bit more work on the wiring. We've got a ground to put in there. We've got a back plate to fit, if we're going to fit one. Just optional, really. We've got the screws to fit around this. We've obviously got to do the testing. We've got to get the string height right. And one or two other little bits and pieces, like strap locks and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be doing next. But unfortunately, that won't be tonight. That will be tomorrow. I look forward to it, don't you? Okay, what I did next, if you look really carefully, is down in there I fitted the ground screw that comes from the pot down onto the copper so that it makes a really good ground in this whole area. Very important that you get a good ground. We'll get good home. Take your pick. Now, next thing for me to do, at least, is the jack plate. And you can see on a Warmouth body that if you move these things out of the way a little bit, I did cover this with copper, but I undid that because when you fit a jack plate to a Strat, you can very easily see that these prongs can sort of stick out a bit. If you push them in too far, they'll ground on the jack itself in the wrong place, so you got to watch that. I didn't want any of the copper down here touching these. And Warmouth, in part of their manufacturing process, very kindly left a nice hole inside. That's not common in an ordinary Strat, but it's common in a Warmouth body, it appears. Very nice, because when you fit this, bend this stuff out of the way, you'll see it's a real cool job. So I'm just going to solder that and then we'll move on from there. And there's the job immediately before we fit it. One thing you really want to make sure is that you get the sort of hot in the right place and the sort of cold, or the ground, in the right place. If you don't, you'll either have no sound, it'll sound like shit. If you build it wrong, it'll sound like shit anyway, but don't worry, that's what you need to do. Now we've got one more ground to make sure it's in place. You normally take this one also from the tone or the volume. I think it's a volume on this, and it's a ground, and you make sure this ground's about here. The reason you do that is when you touch the strings, everything will go off through this ground and out through the jack. If you don't do this, and you just somehow forget to do this, next time you touch a microphone that's live, it'll kill you. It's just that simple, really. Do a good job, make sure it's grounded extremely well, and you'll be safe. And if you don't, well, I'll meet you in the next world and don't be late. Here's a quick look at the finished part. Really well fitted, you can't get it up no matter what you do. Only one thing you've got to be careful of is when you're doing all the soldering, make sure that you shroud all this off with some cloth or some tape or something, because if you don't, what happens, you get little spatters of solder all over the body. I'm sure that your nice new body doesn't deserve that. Don't forget. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're building a guitar like this is to get these sort of strap locks. These are the Fender ones. I could have used others. Get that dust out of the way. I could have used others, but these are the ones I chose in the end because I'm trying to build something like a Strat, and a Strat that's safe. You don't want to lose your guitar by not fitting these. So these are essential. Doesn't matter whether you buy these, Shower, or any of the others. I think these work well. It's a good idea to use a bit of masking tape on the end of your guitar and mark where you're going to drill the hole before you do it, and that stops the drill sliding around and stops you damaging the guitar. Really good idea. I'd do the same for the one on the Hornet too. Another thing we can do is take the drill. Make sure the drill's small enough, by the way, you don't want it too big, and put a bit of masking tape around there on the depth that you need. That makes a lot of difference. And there's the finished hole. Perfect. And there's a quick shot of the finished thing, installed, solid as a rock. That's how it should be. Not loose, not a loose screw to screw in, tight enough so it stays in, doesn't come out, don't lose your guitar. Trust me, I've been there. Here's the second one. Yours should be the same. Rock solid, nothing moves, straight, not angled up or down. Perfect. Next thing I did was to fit the jack socket plate with the two screws. Make sure you get it level, make sure it covers up all the copper that's under there, and make sure the wiring's okay, otherwise you'll be taking it back off and making a few adjustments. Not difficult, but get it right first time. You don't have to come back. Well, what we're going to do next is quite important. We're actually going to make sure that this plate, this socket, fits right. As it happens, this one doesn't really have much movement in it when it's in place. You can see that tiny amounts of movement. That's because all the things are fitted underneath, and on this particular guitar it's just tight. It just fits just really so good. Some of the other ones I've got, and trust me, I've got a few. Let me show you. Here's a few to go at. There is a bucket of them. The thing is that most of those don't fit too well, not even the Fender ones, so you figure that out. But this one came from Warmouth, and it's perfect. It really is perfect. So anyway, the next thing to do is to drill all the holes. You have to be very careful with that. Don't go too deep, don't make them too wide, you know, too big a drill, otherwise your screws will be falling out, and so scratch plate will fall off, and that'll be quite fun. We'll see that one on stage. So let's do that, and then let's fit the plate and move on to the next thing. I like to start off with fitting just one screw, and then maybe one at the other side of the board so you've got it all lined up properly, and then we can just dab the others in reasonably easily. Common sense, really. Now there's the finished scratch plate. You can see that on this one all of the 11 holes have been filled in. Nice screws, nice place, no matchsticks used, nothing. work first go. Yeah, there's a little tip. If you actually drill in the wrong place and then you've got your scratch plate in the wrong place, what you can do is remove your scratch plate back off, fill the holes with basically matchsticks. Take a little bit of super glue, make sure the matchsticks tighten the hole before you start. Take a little bit of super glue, tap it in, snap it off, make it level with a little knife as I would, and off you go. It's that easy. So if you do get it wrong, all's not lost. It's just when you take scratch plate off, you look a right dick. Don't let anybody see you. Well, here I am back. Change of shirt, another day, cat hat, glasses because I can't see the camera without it, and one Strat that's getting pretty much ready to be played, really. What's left? Well, we've got the strings to fit. We've got to make sure the neck's right, and that means that the strings aren't falling off the edges of the fretboard, which is very common. So the neck's got to be aligned right, it's got to be the right angle. We can check that, which we will with just a couple of strings. And then tune it up, plug it in, see what it sounds like. Now you'll notice I didn't fit the back plate. It's because I haven't got one yet. I'll have to give Warmouth a ring and get them make one. That's expensive for England, but I've got another project I'm working on, so I'll get them to include that with that project. And then I can simply just screw it on this one, assuming you want a back plate. I do. I like them to look good. Like me. Am I right? I don't know. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's fit the strings. Let's line the neck up. Let's rock and roll. See you soon.